In the conversation about AI transformation, it's very easy to forget how important human beings are in terms of making sure that it's successful. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the different types of risks that you need to consider and why it makes cross-team collaboration very essential. So the first point is to really understand that AI risks are interconnected and they touch different departments. So let's say, for example, you are a company that has developed an internal AI tool and somehow people's personal data have been leaked or breached. And this leads to reputation damage in terms of it gets into the media. It's a big news story, and that in turn can lead to financial losses and operational chaos. And so this example is meant to illustrate that with AI risk, the impact aren't just limited to one area, it touches across different areas. And so the solution to this is for you to really focus with your AI adoption on cross-functional collaboration. The goal is that we want to innovate in a way that is responsible, but for that to happen, it requires a particular level of cross-functional collaboration within different departments. In this video, I'm going to be just breaking down the different types of risk, just so you have an idea of the complexity of the risk that you have to be aware about. And they're not numbered in a particular order. So number one is privacy risk. And when we're talking about privacy risk, we are talking about AI using people's personal information without permission or protection. So an example of this would be you collecting data without asking users first and using that to train your models, users not having control over how their data is used, people having the ability to combine different data sources to reveal private details, or AI accidentally sharing personal information that you've used during your training. So you really want to have privacy risk at the top of your mind when you are adopting AI. The second risk that you also want to consider is your legal risk. So here we're talking about breaking the laws or regulations and the kind of legal liability that can create. So right now we have regulations like the EU AI Act, and I'm sure that there will be more that will come into play over the coming years. So as you are going through your AI transformation or AI adoption process, what you want to think about is making sure that you are working within your departments and working within your company or organization to make sure that you are using AI in a way that does not violate regulations and does not violate compliance requirements. And this is particularly important for organizations that are in healthcare industry or finance industry, where the regulations can be quite strict. The second thing that you also want to keep in mind when it comes to legal risk is what is the data that you are using to train your AI. Right now, there are a lot of court cases around copyright claims, which is using people's material to train AI without their permission. So in terms of where a lot of legal liability can come about, this is a huge area to pay attention to. And then you also want to think about responsibility when your AI decisions, the AI tools that you've deployed, when they create harm, how is your organization going to be responsible and the legal liabilities that creates? Now, the third one that we are going to be talking about is your operational risk. And this is one that tends to go under the radar sometimes, which is thinking about when the AI systems that you're using break down, how do they disrupt your business, the way that your business runs, and do you have a plan in place? One thing to consider is that the performance of AI can get worse over time without update. You continuously need to update them to reflect the state of the world for them to still perform. And also, number two is also thinking about your business becoming too dependent on AI systems. When you are going through an AI transformation project, but you've gone to such a far extent that your business now depends so much on AI systems that if one thing doesn't work, now your whole business operation is impacted. You really want to consider this risk as well. And then you also want to think about AI, some of the AI tools that you're adopting, perhaps not working well with your existing company tools. How are you going to navigate that? That requires speaking with and engaging with different stakeholders to make sure that you have a plan in place. And then perhaps one of the biggest one is employees being replaced without proper planning. So I see a lot of statements being released with a lot of CEOs or senior leaders being very excited to replace their employees, but often we're not thinking very carefully in terms of long term, right? Some of these AI tools are going to need people with a particular level of domain knowledge, with a particular level of expertise to be able to get the best use out of them, because you are adopting AI and you think AI is going to be the end all and be all solution. So it's really, really important for you to also think about this and consider it. And then number four, we are talking about reputational risk. So this is when AI mistakes can damage your company's public image as well as customer trust, right? Trust is very hard to gain, but also very easy to lose. So you want to think about situations in which AI failures can possibly go viral and embarrass your brand. Situations where customers feel deceived by AI decisions, black box, and they are challenging it. And then also public anger over perceived unethical AI use. So again, this is another area where you really want to be engaging with different stakeholders to anticipate and think very carefully about what are the reputational risks that can come out of this AI transformation or this AI adoption. And then number 5, you want to think about financial risk, right? So these are situations where AI problems cost your company money. So for example, bad AI decisions can lead to poor business choices. In terms of the legal example that I talked about earlier, if you are breaking regulations, there are fines that could be in place as penalties for that. And then also if possibly your AI makes mistakes and you need to compensate victims, and also losing customers and revenue due to AI related problems. Number 6, we are talking about security risk. And this is when your AI systems can be hacked or create new ways for attackers to break in. And I feel like cybersecurity is going to be a major area for people to focus on in terms of thinking about the weak spots that criminals can exploit. People are going to be finding ways to exploit AI systems because sometimes the technology is advancing far faster than the security that can be put in place to ensure that things are protected. And then the last one, you also want to think about individual risks. So think about individual risk not just from the perspective of AI treating people unfairly or causing personal harm, but in a business situation, also what is the individual risk of not training your employees properly, your employees not being aware about proper usage of AI, shadow AI tools, unapproved tools being used, the way that is interconnected with some of the other risks that I've mentioned earlier in terms of opening you up to security breaches. So just an overview of some of the risks that I've talked about in this video. You have your privacy risk, your security risk, your individual risk, your reputation risk, your financial risk, your operational risk, and your legal risk. And this is just barely touching the surface, but it really illustrates my point about the need for cross-functional collaboration and actually really having conversations. And that's why I'm such a huge fan of a storytelling approach, because you want to be able to bring different people to the table, have conversations that allows you to manage these risks in a way that you are not exposing your company to liabilities, and in a way in which you feel confident and prepared that you're mitigating the risks in the best way possible. So the goal with Storytelling for AI Governance is that we help you to deliver and facilitate a governance training that sticks and creates impact.